sometimes we can just get so focused and we got to get through all that material. But I like that you pointed out, find out where they are.
They may be on this level, but you're up here. Don't go, well, you're just not a math person. Talk to them and find out, A, what they're interested in personally, and build a little bit of rapport where they see, hey, you care about me as a person, not just that I learned your material.
Welcome to the BJU Press Teacher Edition podcast, where Christian educators are encouraged and inspired as we bring you interviews, practical ideas, strategies, and answer your questions about teaching in today's culture. And here's your host, Jenny Copeland.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's episode on the Teacher Edition podcast. I am always excited about our guests and our topics, but I have a hunch that today's conversation is going to have a little extra punch. But before we get into that, let's talk about our website and where you can find us on social media. So once again, our website is teachereditionpodcast.com. I know I say it frequently, but if you haven't visited the site, wander over there. Each episode has show notes, there's more information about our guests, and there's even links to any resources that are mentioned in the episodes. Of course, you can also find us on social media. We're Teacher Edition Podcast on Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Teacher Edition Pod. And don't forget that you can watch these interviews on YouTube as well. We are Teacher Edition Podcast on YouTube. All right, so let's start unpacking today's topic and meet our guest. We are really privileged to have Bill Harmon with us today. Bill is originally from the suburbs of Pittsburgh and also spent quite a bit of time in Central Florida. Bill's passion is science and math as well. He has earned a couple different degrees in education, including a degree in chemistry and one in secondary education. He has taught science and math in a whole variety of settings. So currently, he serves here at BJU Press as a digital instructor. He's basically an icon. I'll just put it that way. He teaches video courses. I think he has 10 currently, and that's all the way from Science 6 up into physics. I cannot tell you how many comments that I have heard or read over the years about how much students enjoy Mr. Harmon's classes. He definitely has a knack for making science fun and just making it understandable, very memorable for sure. Bill, it is great to have you on the show today. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Hey, Jenny, glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so I briefly shared just a little bit about your story, but I wondered if you wouldn't mind just take a few minutes as we get started and tell us how the Lord brought you to where you are now. Where did it start?
Well, we could spend a half an hour, and I know you don't want to do that. I was out on visitation with a youth pastor and going to a nearby college, to a religious college that, the major in chemistry, because I knew that's what the Lord wanted me to do. And he told me about Bob Jones. I said, Bob who? And we came up here for let's get acquainted days visiting and said, this is where the Lord wants me. So gave up a scholarship and came up here 600 miles to where I didn't know anybody. And while I was here, I'm going and doing wonderfully in all the other classes. And I get into the unholy trinity of chemistry, organic chemistry, calculus-based physics, and Calc 1. And all of a sudden, what's going on here? In my junior year, my teacher said to me, what are you going to do with chemistry? Are you going to be in the lab or are you going to be in industry? And I said, I don't know. Just know I'm supposed to major in it. And during that year, I was literally, I could take you to the stairwell and I'm walking down. The guy said, hey, what about this? And he was taking X-ray crystallography. And I don't know anything about that. I hadn't had that
That makes
course,
two
but
of us.
he was frustrated and let me see. And oh, okay, I get it. I went back to my room and I said, that was fun. I'd sure like to do that, but I don't know how you do that to a whole class. And it was just like I heard a voice. Didn't see a 600-foot tall Jesus, but there was some kind of inside that said it's the same thing. So, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. That's it. I'm going to teach. So that's how I got into education because the Lord led me, and I'll
Wow.
be here until He leads me out of it. So as you said, I was teaching in Central Florida, came up here for my master's, and started one semester of full-time chemistry teacher at the academy. And about November, Dr. Cates, the principal, came and said that they need you to come over and be a distance learning teacher in front of the camera. But I'm a classroom teacher. Well, that's where they need you. Okay, but can I have one class at the academy? And most of the years, I would go over and teach a first hour class in chemistry
That's
or
great.
physical science and then go be live or record like we're doing right now.
Wow. That's fantastic. Such a great story. And actually, I mean, teaching on camera, you are teaching to hundreds. It's definitely a different experience, but wow, how fun that you've had both. You've taught to a variety of students, all different types of groups. I'd love to tap into some of that experience today. And honestly, I know not everyone listening is a science teacher, but I'm pretty confident that what you're going to bring to the table can help broadly to teachers in all different subjects. Let's talk about first, how do you start your class? I would think that most classes you would teach, you know, especially science, it would be hard to just like hear the bell and jump in. Here we go, into some of those concepts, even the ones you were just mentioning. How do you handle the first 5 minutes of class? Like, do you do any warm ups, entry tickets, like kind of get their brains in science mode? And as well, know like not everyone maybe is enthused about science, a travesty, I know.
Uh,
But are there any tricks to get everyone engaged? What do you think?
well, just me and my personality, I'm so laid back, as you can
I
tell,
can tell, I
that,
can tell,
I
yes.
the bell does ring and I say, "Okay," and they know they've gotta have their laptops out and be ready to go, and I will just start asking questions from what we did the day before. "Alright,
Good review.
what is pH?" And, "Johnny, and it doesn't take very long before I don't wanna look dumb in front of the class, and so they know he's gonna ask, I better be ready, and so I'm just training them, "Hey, the bell is when you're ready. Get set up, be ready to go," and, of course, there's always a few that don't do that, but that gets most of them ready to go. I don't do a lot of ticket and everything, I just get right into material. We are so slammed in both chemistry and physical science with trying to get through the material that it's like, I gotta get to it.
I like that enthusiasm right from the start, like you jump in, a few review questions. I really like that. That's really doable. So you're obviously very gifted in science and math, but that's not all of us. In fact, we all have students who enter the room with that, science or math induced cold sweat. What would you say is maybe a practical strategy you could use to build confidence in a student who believes like they're just not a science person or I'm just not a math person? What could you do to help them?
Basically, I think that's where you spend time with them outside of class, and I know what time, but even a minute or 2 before class, the ones that you can see are struggling, talk to them and find out, A, what they're interested in personally and build a little bit of rapport where they see, "Hey, you care about me as a person, not just that I learned the material." The other thing is, especially with math, find out where they are. I can remember a lot of times being told, "You have to meet people where they are." So they may be on this level, but you're up here. Okay, well, you gotta know where they are, and then "Oh, well, that's" the other thing is, "That's great. You know how to do that. Let's take that and let's go up a step." Don't go, "Well, you're just not a math person," because yes, some people don't do it as well, but everybody can be functionally literate at math if they have the ability to be functionally literate at English and history and everything else.
That's great. That's super practical. And what I love about that is you said you need to know where your students are. And I think sometimes we can just get so focused and we got to get through all that material. But I like that you pointed out, find out where they are, and then you can scaffold from there and help them. Let's hang on what we know and take it from there. So that's perfect. I know when I taught, I had students who dearly loved science. Like they were all in. They studied more at home. They had their own little science kits. They were in museums and visiting science organizations. They were doing their own experiments. It was beyond just being good at science. Like they lived science. All the while, others are struggling to get the most basic concepts. I'm confident that teachers everywhere face this constantly. I wondered if you have any tips or strategies that you could share of how to differentiate instruction in these areas so those high flyers aren't sitting there bored, but the struggling students don't feel like, well, the class just up and left, and I'm just gonna have to sit and listen the rest of the year. Any ideas for that?
Great question. And the issue is you're always going to have those students that struggle. So with me and my personality, I try to get something as simple as you can get it. But then what do you do with those ones that are sitting there going, So I decided, let's see if we can add some humor into that to help catch up. And, they'll roll their eyes and go, oh, but
Hard
the
being a high
stu
schooler.
yeah, yeah. What don't 2 8th grade boys make fun of, right?
Right, right. Yeah, teachers. Yeah.
But like, for example, let's do a math one, okay? You've taught the order of operations, then you go to equations, and you ask the student who's struggling, why do you undo the addition first when it's supposed to be in PEMDAS multiplication division? Why do you do that? And they go, I don't know. So I came up with the idea. And one of the things that really helps when you're recording in the studio is there's no classroom management. That part of my brain is in here.
True.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Um, you know, shoes and socks. In the morning, what do you put on first? Put my socks on first. You better. Okay. In the evening or when you come home from school, what do you take off first? Your shoes. Yeah. What's that have to do with math? Well, that's exactly what order of operations and solving problems are. Order of operations is doing, solving an algebra equation is undoing. So they're the reverse processes in the reverse order. So something, and literally do that, you know, take your shoe off in the classroom or something. So those kind of things. In chemistry, trying to understand reactivity of elements across the periodic table. So came across with boom, spit, fizzle, spit, boom, dud.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay. I've
group
not heard that
1A,
one.
group 2A, the metals, group 6A, 7A, and 8A. Or if you use IUPAC, 1, 2, metals, 16, 17, 18 groups. And there you go. That's the active metals, the active non-metals, the noble gases, and everything in between. Just little things like that, that again, that struggling student can latch on to
Right.
because it's on a simple level, but the proficient and exceptional students go, but they
They
can
enjoy
use it
it.
too,
That's right. That's right. And I'm glad you started talking about some of that because you are known for making science memorable and understandable. I've heard that many, many times from people.
especially
Talk
falling from the ceiling in that clip.
Oh, yeah. Boy, maybe we should insert that here. Okay, so maybe take that a little bit farther if you don't mind. Like, what are some tools or strategies that you would recommend to other teachers, teachers who are listening here that they could do in their science classrooms? Like, if you can give us some other ways you're making science very memorable, very understandable, what are some other ideas?
Again, in chemistry, physical science, when you're talking about, first of all, you've gone through the atoms and elements and that. Now you're getting into metals and non-metals, and it's all just these facts. So I don't know where it came from, but I came up with this idea. And when I'm in the classroom, I will literally go around the corner and they're like, what's going on? And I come back in, I've thrown on a cap and waterboard cap and gown, and I'm humming Pomp and Circumstance. Now, Jenny, you'll know this here at the Academy. It's not that. It's God
Oh,
of Our
God of our
Fathers.
fathers. Yes. Okay, so
But
that works too.
wherever, if
Yeah.
it's recording or if I'm on live at the Academy, I said, people write on their mortarboard, "Love you, Mom." No, no, something more important than that. Metals lose electrons. I have literally had probably 2 dozen people over the years that of homeschoolers that have come by. When I was graduating, I remembered metals lose electrons,
That's
and
hilarious.
so what? Well, if the metals are losing electrons and non-metals are gaining, now ionic, covalent is 2 non-metals fighting, and metallic is the metals losing. Hot potato, there you go. So just some little thing like that that's almost dumb, although we don't say that, that
Silly.
can grab their attention.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. Bicycle, wheel and axle, physical science. I have
Okay.
a little 12-inch bike that we have in our props, and I air it up and I bring it into if I'm teaching physical science in the classroom, have it up there and show, look, this is the sprockets are turning in the same direction because it's connected, da, da, da. Okay, so when I'm finished with the class, bike and ride out of the classroom. Now, that's the kind of thing they remember. Just just something to make it fun along with the learning. There are some other ones I could take time, but that's
Sure,
enough
no,
for
if you
now.
have we have some time. If you have another one you wanna throw in there, let's do it.
Well, this kind of goes back to years before, but I don't know how some of the kids don't get it. But you used to be when you went to the grocery store in the fall, they would give you coupons that
Right?
if you got so many of them, you would get
Yes!
a free
Cash them in.
turkey. Remember
Yes, that's
turkey
right. Oh,
coupons?
yes.
So
Yep.
when we're going through the bonding and the metals and the non-metals, I've got, now I've got 7 turkey coupons. I'm looking for that 8th one. There's your halogen. Very boom. And the group 1A, the metals are, I got one, I don't care about it. They might throw it on the floor. I'm going to pick it up, and I haven't been able to figure out a 2020 corresponding of that, but that used to work really well for explaining again bonding and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, a couple demonstrations to give ideas. If you have a fume hood, and some of the larger schools do, just take some iodine, heat it up with watch glass on top with ice, and you see sublimation and deposition or depositing. We hear about it, but we don't really see it. But they can have that purple and then the purple gas. Well, it's kind of almost a slate gray purple and purple gas, and then it recrystallizes and makes nice little crystals on the bottom of the watch glass. So go and have a bottle of iodine. Take a pickle. Now you have to know how to do this safely. We actually have wires we hook up and run 110 volts through it and fry the pickle. They the smell, but they can see we're talking about going into Bohr's model and spectroscopy and having the light come off of the pickle. What color was it? At the end of the year in chemistry, we have a couple days of labs where we have about 10 or 12 different stations.
Oh,
I
wow.
I don't remember exactly what all of them are. I'd have to look at it. I know one had to deal with you had some alcohol and you would put it on your skin. And what temperature is it? Why does it feel the way it does? Open-ended questions
Mhm.
that cover different areas. And then on the very end, we would have matchstick rocket contest where you had to take a match and a little piece of aluminum foil, and you can have a paper clip and and shoot it, and whoever went the furthest at the matchstick would earn the Golden Bunsen Burner Award, which was a good way of getting rid of our old rusted Bunsen burners that weren't working. We clean it up, have the lab assistant paint it gold, and that they really enjoyed doing that.
I would think so. Wow, I would have loved to have been in that class. And, secondary students can be a hard sell. Okay, so I guess I have to ask this because 'cause you're talking about all these fun things that you do. Do you have, like, a favorite science joke that actually lands well with teenagers?
Well, when I was doing the interaction, I would say this became the joke. And so I would tell it. I would still have students call in and tell it. 2 atoms walking down the street run into each other. One falls down. The other one says, "Oh, are you okay?" "No, no, I'm not. I've lost an electron." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm positive." Ah.
Nice. Yes, and all our listeners, yeah, go, "Ugh." Okay, so let's segue into biblical worldview. So biblical worldview shaping is vital. It's a topic we discuss in some shape or form throughout our episodes. So what about science? Sure, it sounds easy enough. I mean, just observe what God made. True, but we obviously want to go deeper than that. How do you move past, I guess you could say, just tacking on a scripture verse, to a lesson, to actually showing the students how the laws of physics or the precision of calculus reflects the character and the consistency of our God? How do you go a step further on that?
Well, just to as you see something, and I have to say, our biblical worldview teams are doing a fantabulous job of integrating it right into the TE Teachers Edition for the courses. I just this week, shameless plug, finished recording the Algebra 2 videos, and
Congratulations.
they have done a marvelous job. Like in chapter 14, the last chapter on conic sections, here's the chapter question. How can conic sections and quadratic systems help me understand God's creation? In the first section, what do you learn about the nature of math models from Copernicus's solar system model? In the third section, what can we learn from history of math models about planetary orbits? In section 6, how should I react to
Wow.
the
Yeah,
models?
good
No,
thinking.
no. How should I react to my ability to be able to understand the models of God's creation and the application, recognizing the beauty of God's vastness and responding accordingly? This is woven throughout the book. Now, the last time, I think 3 years ago, that I was teaching chemistry, we didn't have that level of Bible integration in the sciences. It's coming more and more. They literally have a taxonomy
Yeah.
of biblical worldview shaping.
Mhm.
But, in science, and, I think that it's a matter of just every time you can, seeing something and pointing it out. For example, we look at the periodic table. We say, "Look at the order that's there. Notice how it falls, and there's patterns and everything." Then when you get into the transition elements and things go a little wonky at times in how they fill in the inner levels and then jump back out and all, if you understand that, if you're a chemistry person, say, I think that that's an evidence. This is Harmon 316, I would say. That's the fall in the periodic table. I think every element that was perfectly related got a little twisted and deformed and warped by the fall, that it could literally be affecting the elements. And then when we talk about other things, mention that same idea. There's consistency, but there are exceptions.
Right.
So that's just something that's occurred to me.
That's fantastic. Okay, so one last question for you, I guess somewhat along those same lines. What is one thing that you do intentionally in your teaching that doesn't really have to do maybe much with science or math or whatever you're teaching, but everything to do with seeing your students as image bearers of God? So kind of even taking it beyond science. What would you say?
Well, this might be a strange answer, not surprisingly, look where it's coming from. But, teenagers are horrible on each other, aren't they? They rag on each other, they cut each other down. They're and, I hear that sometimes before class. I go over and say, that you and that person are both God's creation.
Yes. Yes.
And trying to not shame them, and you don't, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah," it's just a, do you realize that and however that specific thing
Right.
was, and I think that the person that was being attacked is like, not only the teacher wasn't yelling at some, Stop fussing at," but was saying something positive about me, and the other one's going, hopefully they realize it. So I think it's those almost out of classroom times that can really have an effect on students.
Yeah. That's a great
That
example.
doesn't
And so
happen
perfect.
that often, but when
Right.
it does, it can be really powerful.
Oh, yeah, it's a great opportunity to refocus them on who they're talking to. That is someone made in the image of God. That's great example. Okay, so I feel like we could have hours of conversation, but we're
I've
forfeiting
never
that
had a
by
problem
wrapping.
talking.
No, this has been great. Thank you so much for being willing to step
Thank
out of
you
the
for
teaching
having me.
studio, come into the podcast studio for a few minutes. This has been a fun episode, so many practical ideas, and it's just really been an honor to have you with us. I appreciate all you do every day, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Thanks for having me.
And listeners, thank you for joining us as well. Whether you're a secondary science teacher or a first grade reading teacher, I hope you enjoy what Bill shared with us today. Also, I hope you're walking away with some practical ideas that you can bring right into your classroom. So as we sign off, just a reminder to go to teachereditionpodcast.com to learn more about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media. Now, once again, it's time to get back to your day. But it's not just any day. Every day in the classroom is your day to impact and inspire through God's power and through His grace working in you. Go do what God has called you to do.